In today's news, we see the Premier of the Virgin Islands getting his first shot of the COVID-19 vaccine. Additionally, major fire breakout in Paraquita Bay just last night. Today, we are speaking with the Chief Fire Officer, Mr. Zebulon McKinnon, as to what happened last night. As we move on, we also see a man dying, actually a father-to-be dying as a result of a gender reveal device that exploded. So much to cover today. Just stick with us. You're watching 284 News. Hello viewers, welcome to 284 News. It is a beautiful, beautiful day here in the Virgin Islands, Wednesday, February 24th, 2021. My name is Javon Wilson, and I'm so happy that you could join us now. Topping our news today, we see the Premier of the Virgin Islands, Honorable Andrew A. Foy, today receiving his first dose of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Now, the Premier took to Facebook to post, and I quote, "Today, it was a joyful occasion to join persons from the 1st District, as together we were vaccinated at the Nurse Theresa Smith Blyden Clinic in Caboons Bay in the 1st District. Remember, don't procrastinate, but with BVI love, vaccinate." End of quote. Viewers, we also get into the massive fire that broke out just last night in Paraquita Bay, destroying over 100 bales of recyclables from Green VI. And on the international scene, we see golfer Tiger Woods hospitalized after a very, very serious car accident. On the international scene as well, drug lord El Chapo's wife has now been arrested in the United States and is accused of helping her husband run its multi-billion-dollar cartel and plot his audacious escape from a Mexican prison in 2015. As you can see on the screen, that's his wife. Her arrest is the latest twist in the bloody multinational saga involving Guzman, and the longtime head of the Sinaloa drug cartel. Now, Guzman, whose dramatic prison escapes in Mexico fed into a legend that he and his family were all but untouchable, was extradited to the United States back in 2017 and is now serving life in prison. Now, as we head into today's newscast, a massive fire broke out in Paraquita Bay shortly after 7 p.m. last night, completely engulfing an area filled with bales of plastic bottles and aluminum. Now, according to Green VI, a post that was made via Facebook, the fire was, and I quote, "mysteriously started in a dry bush that was being stored for chipping into mulch for farmers," end of quote, and simultaneously used to organize 98 bales of plastic recyclables and 8 bales of aluminum, which was completely destroyed in the fire. The combustibles were due to be exported in short order. Now, the statement released by Green VI also stated that the loss is devastating. They said, and I quote, "This represents many months of hard work, and we are saddened by the setback," end of quote. Now, viewers, at the time of the fire, the dense smoke plumes, as you can see, could be seen from miles away. And while there was no reported damage to both the Re-Recycle Center as well as the H. Lavity Style Community College, which actually sits in close proximity, the air across Paraquita Bay, that area is now heavily polluted. Ms. Penny said, and I quote, "This is a detrimental effect. The detrimental effect of the smoke from the burning plastic is, of course, heartbreaking," end of quote. Now, burnt plastic, as we know, viewers, is a very serious health concern as it emits dangerous levels of carbon dioxide into the air. Now, when black carbon is emitted, there also tends to be other particulate matter emissions, which can have a significant impact on health, causing respiratory problems, heart disease, and even brain cancer. So persons are duly advised to be careful in that area. Now, even though several firefighters were deployed to the scene, the fire was still very difficult to extinguish, according to the chief fire officer, Mr. Zebulon McLean, who we were actually able to catch up with today. Listen in. Hello, viewers. We are here with the Chief Fire Officer at the Virgin Islands Fire and Rescue Service, Mr. Zebulon McLean. Of course, to touch on the incident just last evening, a huge fire at the Paraquita Bay. Mr. McLean, at approximately what time did you receive the call to respond to the scene?
It was received at 7:49 last evening.
Okay.
Our first response was from the guys at the East End Fire Station, followed by the backup response from Rowtown, and then a secondary backup. So we had 3 crews responding.
And what was the scene like once you guys arrived?
Well, the site was pretty wide. We had a lot of swirling winds and a large area that was on fire with several pockets of large flames. So the going was a little treacherous because the ground was soft, it was heated, and then of course we didn't help because we kind of flooded the area at times. And it took a little while. Those guys were there until about maybe 3 or so in the morning. And some of the substances you are not too clear about, so we had to tread lightly. As you know, some of those things don't react very well with water.
Right.
But it did require quite a bit of manpower and quite a bit of water.
Okay. Would you say at this time, would you be able to say rather what was the origin of the fire?
At this time, we can't say. Last night, we started our interviews with persons who were on the scene before we got there, persons who walk around the area.
Okay.
And then the investigators started going through the rubble to see what they could find. But at this time, I guess I have to give you the old investigations are still ongoing, and we'll let you know later on what we find out.
Okay. Now, Green VI, the director at Green VI, did say that about 98 bales of plastic and aluminum were in the fire. Can you say if that would have attributed to the fire being such a huge one?
Well, as you know from our days in school in science, we know that everything burns. It doesn't matter if it's metal, if it's glass. At some point in time when it gets hot enough, it's going to burn. And as you know, we live in the tropics, and glass refracts light and heat very well, as is the case with when you shine a light through a magnifying glass, or when you put a magnifying glass up in the air and the sun's rays are refracted and focused. So it could have been something like that. I can't speculate at this time. Okay. But what I do say is that I am a bit disappointed to know that all the efforts that Green VI has put in, has led to this. Those guys do a wonderful job. It's a message that I think enough people are not quite taking and understanding, that we need to recycle, we need to reuse. We can't just continue flooding the world with these things that don't easily decompose. So might as well we use the same thing over and over again to lessen the amount. And I was a little saddened to see that all their efforts, might have been compromised by this fire.
Okay. What do you want persons to take away from last night's experience?
Be very careful how you burn, and be very careful what you burn, especially if you live in a residential area, because persons who burn things in their yard never have the good fortune of having the smoke blow into their own house, but it always affects someone else. So again, I ask persons to be mindful of their neighbor. Before you burn, think about it. We can't give you permission to burn. So if you call us and ask us if you can burn, we're going to tell you we don't have the authority to give you permission to.
Right.
And also, I would like to commend my officers on a job well done. It took 3 crews, and it was quite a long time, but those guys got it out, they got the job done, and I'm proud of them.
Thank you so much, Mr. McLean.
Thank you for having me.
A very unfortunate situation for Green VI, who has really committed their efforts to recycling in the territory, and like Mr. McLean said, something that we all ought to be doing. Now, viewers, as we move on, His Excellency the Governor, Mr. John J. Rankin, has said that all BVI residents who will be offered both doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, that will be done by July 31st, in accordance with the UK's intent to speed up the vaccination rollout. Now, we do know that the BVI is dependent of the United Kingdom as a British overseas territory. So the governor is now saying, just like the UK, we too will be vaccinated by July 31st. Now, Governor Rankin said, and I quote, "The UK has been leading the way on the rollout of vaccines, and overseas territories are directly benefiting from this, being some of the first places in the world to begin mass vaccination programs." The first delivery of vaccines arrived in the BVI from the UK on February 4th, and the Virgin Islands vaccination program began on the 11th of February. The UK remains committed to providing further doses of the vaccine as required as the local rollout program proceeds. We hope, therefore, that everyone in the BVI who wishes to be inoculated will have received both doses of the COVID-19 vaccine by or before the 31st of July of this year, when the entire UK population is expected to be vaccinated. That's what the governor said. Now, the United Kingdom has so far procured 8,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, some of which has already been administered to residents in the territory who, of course, choose to be immunized. Now, just yesterday, during an exclusive interview right here on 284 Media, our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Ronald Georges, said that almost 1,500 of the 8,000 secured were already administered by the end of Monday. Today, we saw scores of persons lining up across the territory. We saw them at clinics and stations, of course, in hopes to receive their first dose of the vaccine. Our very own premier actually took the opportunity to get his first jab. Let's watch.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think what you got there. Just let me have here.
Yes, sir.
Here. So, last time would have been in childhood?
Yes, childhood. So we have the chairs team joined us here. Allow me to say
Sorry.
Teresa Blyden.
Okay. So, after administration, you may have some discomfort.
See no
Approximately
no,
1 hour after
no,
the vaccine.
yeah. So we'd like
You do
to
have the
welcome them and
paracetamol for the
this is what it's all about. We encourage everyone to go and get registered. Call me and go online to bvi.gov.
15 minutes after administration, I want you.
How's it feel?
It feels excellent because I haven't feel it yet.
This will go so fast, you wouldn't feel a thing. You see, that is it. That's it.
Yeah,
Just
just coming through.
you understand me? You understand what's going on. That is it. So there you have it. The Premier of Virgin Islands taken his AstraZeneca. So for all those who were calling me, when is the Premier going to take it? When is the Premier going to take it? Well, he's done it. He's done it, and he made sure that members of the staff was actually vaccinated. He made sure that we have members of his team, of his government vaccinated, and he is here. His hometown.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And well.
And 1 second.
Our premier did promise that we would be seeing that live. I'm very happy that we were able to secure that footage. Now, viewers, the British government has announced that every adult in the United Kingdom will be offered their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine by the end of July, 1 month earlier than initially planned. Prime Minister Boris Johnson says the accelerated target will allow vulnerable people to be protected sooner, which would help relax the lifting of lockdowns restrictions all across the country. Now, viewers, still ahead of the break, we see Honorable Marlon Penn still pushing for a COVID-19 plan from the government of the Virgin Islands. So all that and so much more when 284 News returns. Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, the leader of the royal opposition, Honorable Marlon A. Penn, continues to condemn the government of the Virgin Islands, saying, and I quote, "Those given the mandate to lead us seemingly appear paralyzed, pointing fingers, casting blame, quoting law, becoming experts in everything except providing a plan to get us out of this new crisis." End of quote. Now, very, very strong and damning comments coming from the opposition leader. So if you missed it, listen in.
Those given the mandate to lead us seemingly appear paralyzed, pointing fingers, casting blame, quoting law, becoming experts in everything, except providing a plan to get us out of this new crisis. It is imperative then that the government answers the questions. Where are we going? Is there a plan? Where is the plan for having our additional and updated institutions of good governance in place? Where is the plan for improving the depth and breadth of our economy? Where is the plan to provide sustainable livelihoods? Where is the plan to finance our continued development and our ability to deal with climate change? The late great and beloved Honorable H. Larity Stout often quoted Proverbs 28:18, "Where there is no vision, the people perish."
Now, further to that, Honorable Penn is also questioning, among many other things, why the national tourism agenda was placed in the hands of Honorable Shari de Castro, who he describes as a non-cabinet member. Listening.
Tourism is the lifeblood of the Virgin Islands economy. The charter industry contributes over $300 million and land-based tourism over $200 million to our economy. Along with the cruise industry, tourism as a whole provides over 50% of the jobs available. Tourism offers the greatest scope to drive an immediate economic expansion, and it is the sector that offers the most solid, reliable, and realistic prospects for long-term economic growth. Where's the National Tourism Plan that will guide us for the next 10 or 20 years? Why has the responsibility for a national plan for tourism or major industry be given to a non-cabinet member? Where is the plan that allows us to finally and safely reopen our borders? Where is the plan to continually engage all tourism stakeholders on matters that directly affect them and for which they have the needed experience and expertise? Where is the plan? The work which commenced on a national tourism plan by the previous government should have been completed by now, and a national plan remains even more important in a post-COVID world. My vision, which has derived from the work previously started, supports the continued success of tourism.
Lots of strong comments and condemnation coming from the leader of the opposition, Honorable Marlon A. Penn. One of the questions residents have been asking since this audio aired just about a day or two ago is whether all of these recommendations were communicated with the government of the Virgin Islands, because at this point, we all ought to be coming together, of course, bringing together our strengths and ideas to take the territory forward. Now, viewers, as we move on, the Virgin Islands residents are now invited to improve their readiness for earthquake and tsunami events by joining the Regional Caribbean Wave exercise taking place on Thursday, March 11th. Now, occurring on the 10th-year anniversary of the devastating earthquake and tsunami off the coast of Fukushima, Japan. This year's exercise is a somber reminder of the dangers that come along with living in a seismically active region such as the Caribbean, said the Department Disaster Management Acting Director, Mr. Jason Penn. He said, and I quote, "Thinking back to the devastation experienced by a highly developed nation like Japan is a reminder that we should do all we can to prepare for the possibility of a major earthquake and tsunami on our shores. Having a plan and knowing what to do in those crucial moments could definitely save your life or the lives of family members or colleagues," Mr. Penn said. Now, DDM's training manager, Mrs. Karishma Hicks, said that the recent earthquakes near Puerto Rico and, of course, the ongoing eruption in St. Vincent should serve as reminders that the territory is vulnerable to earthquakes and other seismic hazards, including tsunamis. Ms. Hicks said, and I quote, "Tsunami events may be rare, but they have the potential to cause a lot of harm and they can occur without advance warning. We want persons to practice how they would respond to these events so that should the territory experience an impact, we would not waste any time in getting ourselves and our families to safety, end of quote. Now, viewers, Mrs. Hicks said in addition to mapping out and practicing evacuation routes, the DDM recommends that persons be ready for a possible tsunami by planning assembly points and putting together a small bag of essentials, including a first aid kit, prescription medication, flashlight, important documents, and a battery-operated radio to receive all clear messages from the authorities. The training manager further said, and I quote, "Annual exercises are a great opportunity for families and businesses to review their emergency preparations. Virgin Islands schools, businesses and community groups and individuals can now register via surveymonkey.com/CARIBE21_REG. Now, viewers, all participants should carry out the drop, cover, and hold earthquake safety response. Participants should also consider whether their safety location is in compliance with COVID-19 safety protocols when deciding whether or not to carry out an evacuation exercise, their building safety checks, and so on. Alternatively, participants may exercise their building safety checks, update their home and family plans, and or discuss other aspects of their organization's emergency response plan. Caribe Wave is held annually in the region since 2009, of course. It uses historical seismic data to generate a test scenario, such as last year's exercise, which was based on a 1755 tsunami generated by a magnitude 8.5 earthquake located off the coast of Portugal. Now, viewers, approximately 74,000 persons have registered to participate in the wave this year. Participating states besides the Virgin Islands include Haiti, Aruba, the United States, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The exercise is organized by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as well as the United States Geological Survey. Now, viewers, still ahead of the break on the international scene, we see golfer Tiger Woods being hospitalized after a very serious car crash that occurred yesterday. He has undergone surgery. So we have the details for that and so much more when 284 News returns.
Gentlemen, aspiring gentlemen, and our partners that hold us down. It's season 2 of The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, taking you on the most inspiring journey with the best and brightest distinguished gentlemen of the BVI. Raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men like you've never seen them before. Governor Augustus J.U. Jaspert, Jovan Klein, Neil Klein, and so much more. Turning modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen with yours truly, Ron Grant, a 284 Media production.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now we're taking a look at headlines on the international scene. Tiger Woods underwent emergency surgery yesterday after suffering serious injuries in a rollover crash in Los Angeles. Woods, the 45-year-old golf legend, was the only person in the vehicle which sustained major damage in the crash, according to officials. Now, Woods is now awake, responsive, and recovering from a long surgical procedure on his lower right leg and ankle, according to a statement posted on his Twitter account earlier today. Now, the statement said, and I quote, "We thank everyone for the overwhelming support and messages during this tough time." End of quote. Now, viewers, deputies responded to the scene just around 7:12 a.m. Yesterday. The Los Angeles County Sheriff Department said his SUV careened downhill, traveling several hundred feet, flipping multiple times before landing on a hillside, in the Los Angeles suburb. Now, Woods was trapped inside of the car, forcing first responders to use tools to pry open the windshields to pull him out, local officials said. The beloved golfer was transported to the Harbor UCLA Medical Center, where he required emergency surgery. Now, the CEO of the hospital said Mr. Woods suffered significant orthopedic injuries to his right lower extremity that were treated during emergency surgery. Now, viewers, Woods' SUV, a 2021 Genesis GV80, was the only vehicle involved in the crash. Photos and videos from the scene, of course, showed extensive damage to the vehicle's front end. The golfer clubs and other personal items were also taken from the scene, and a crane later removed the crumpled SUV. Now, Sheriff Alex said that there were no initial signs that Woods was impaired. The interior of the SUV remained intact, which gave Woods some cushion to survive, he said, adding that the investigation could take weeks. Now, the deputy also said, of course, who responded to the scene, also said that Woods was calm, but unable to stand on his own. He said, and I quote, "I asked what his name was, and he told me his name was Tiger, and at that moment, I immediately recognized him," Deputy Carlos told reporters. He seemed as though he was lucid and very calm. Now, viewers, this is just a few of the details coming out of that headline. Very, very unfortunate news. So at this point, we can only wish and hope for the best as it relates to Mr. Woods' speedy recovery. As we move on the international scene, we also see an expectant father being killed when a device he was actually building for a gender reveal party for his child exploded, according to what police is saying in New York City. Now, Christopher Peckney, 28 years old, was assembling a device for his child's gender reveal party in Catskills town of Liberty when it exploded just before noon on Sunday, state police said. Now, Peckney was killed by the blast, and his 27-year-old brother, Michael Peckney, was seriously injured, police said. Michael is now being treated for his injuries at an area hospital. Now, police have not specified what type of device would have caused the explosion, but the incident is being investigated with support from the bomb disposal unit. Mr. Peckney's eldest brother described the incident as the freakiest of freak accidents that he could ever imagine. He said he did not know what caused the explosion. Now, viewers, as you know, gender reveal stunts have become an increasingly popular and very dangerous trend over the last decade, particularly as some parents have embraced explosives as a way to tell the world that their child is a specific sex. Now, a Michigan man was killed just earlier this month when he was struck by a shrapnel from a gender reveal cannon that was actually being used at a baby shower, authorities said. Another gender reveal device sparked September 2020 wildfire, and that burned, get this, several thousands of acres in Southern California. So while people are seemingly very, very excited about coming up with new ways and innovative ways, of course, of having their baby showers across the region, as we can see, sometimes it could be risky business if we are not careful. So viewers, of course, encouraging you to be careful whenever that time comes. But that is all the time we have for today. Today's news roundup, of course. I want to encourage you to follow us on 284media.com. That's our website where we have quite a number of articles featured daily on the local, regional, and international scene. We're also on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI. On Instagram as well as Twitter. My name is Javon Wilson, thanking you so much for joining us and encouraging you once again to check in tomorrow, 6 p.m., same time right here on 284 Media as we deliver your local, regional, and international content right here on 284 News. This is 284 News, your source for honest and impartial news. Have a beautiful Wednesday, everybody. Bye-bye.